which is usually the central piece of a Carnatic performance. It is very heavy on the improvisational aspect. The sahityam, or the lyrical content of a pallavi, is minimal, usually limited to a single line, and it is said to a talam that is not common in other composed music. The pallavi is often composed by the performer themselves, or their gurus, or other contemporaries. Today, Prahalad will be presenting a pallavi in the ragam Jagan Mohini. The lyrics of the pallavi are Shobillu Saptaswara, Sundarula Bhajanpave Manasa. These lyrics are taken from Saint Tyagaraja's popular composition in the same ragam and have been composed or reimagined in the Kanda Jati Triputa Talam by Sri Lalit Subramaniam. You will hear Prahalad present a raga alapana, a vocal demonstration of the pallavi. The pallavi played in 6 different speeds and kalpanaswarams. This will be followed by a percussion solo, or Tani Avartanam, by Sri Vinod Sitaraman on the mridangam. After the pallavi, Prahalad will present a Devarnama, Jagadodarana, in Ragam Kapi, set to Adi Talam, composed by Sri Purandaradasa. This will be followed by a Javali, Vani Pondu, in Ragam Kanada, Talam Rupakam, composed by Sri Dharmapuri Shubharaya. After this, Prahalad will present a Devarnama, Salahena Sarvesha Satyanarayana, composed by his own great-grandfather, Sri C.M.V. Jayendracha, who was conferred the title of Jayendradasa by the Sri Pejavara Mata. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pallavi.
सप्तस्वर सुन्दरुदभजिम्पवे मनसा शोभिल्लु सप्तस्वर सुन्दरुदभजिम्पवे मनसा शोभिल्लु सप्तस्वर Bye.
I will now introduce the supporting artists. On the violin, we have Sri Jayashankar Balan. Sri Jayashankar Balan had his violin training in Indian classical music from Srimati Alamelu Subramanian of Mumbai and vocal music from Sri Madurai Sundar. He has worked with all the leading stalwarts in the Carnatic area, including Dr. K.J. Yesudas, Sri Balamuli Krishna, Srimati Sudha Raghunathan, Sri Shankar Mahadevan, Dr. Flute Ramani, Sri Ravikiran, Sri T.N. Seshagopalan, and others. He has performed extensively all over the world and was invited to perform at the United Nations in Paris for the last UN meeting of the century. He has also represented India in major cultural festivals, including the Festival of India in the USSR and the Festival of India in the Middle East. He is also a graded artist of All India Radio. Besides being a performer, he is actively involved in teaching this art to many students. He is a regular invitee to numerous universities as an ambassador of Indian classical music. He was awarded the Best Teacher Award in North America by the Cleveland Festival, which is the largest Indian classical festival in North America. This award was in appreciation of his years of service for the propagation of classical music throughout North America. Academically, he holds a master's in computer science and an MBA in finance. Sri Jayashankar Balan. On the mridangam, we have Sri Vinod Sitaram. Sri Vinod Sitaraman is among the most accomplished and sought-after first-generation Carnatic percussionists in the United States. His mridangam performances have won him wide appreciation from audiences. His training in mridangam started at the age of 7 from Sri Ardhanarishwaram, and he continues his advanced training from Bangalore, Sri Arjun Kumar, and Sri Umayalpuram Shivaraman. The purity and sophistication of Sri Vinod Sitaraman mridangam training has enabled him to not only accompany an astonishing variety of musicians, but also given him the freedom to innovate and create meaningful presentations. He has shared the stage with at least 4 generations of Carnatic musicians. That includes Dr. M. Barlamurli Krishna, T.N. Seshagopalan, Dr. N. Ramani, T.M. Krishna, Bombay Jayashree, Chitravina Ravikiran, Naivedi Santana Gopalan, Abhishek Raghuram, etc. Sri Vinod Sitaraman is passionate about keeping up the purity of his traditional legacy, even in collaborative ventures. He has composed and arranged the rhythm for many percussion ensembles. He is a popular teacher, and his students are regular features in music festivals and competitions. His vision is to work with a variety of musicians and propagate Indian percussion to diverse audiences across the globe. Sri Vinod Sitaram. On the tambura, we have Raghav Kasipatla. Raghav Kasipatla, a Carnatic vocal student of Sri Tiruvarur Girish and Sri Lalit Subramanian, learns flute from Sri Krishna Prasad and is studying computer science at The Ohio State University. He was first initiated into Carnatic vocal by Sri Pasumarthi at the age, Sri Vishnu Pasumarthi at the age of 6, who trained him for 7 years and instilled in him a love of music. He also began learning Carnatic flute from Sri Krishna Pasumarthi from the age of 7. He subsequently started vocal lessons from Thiruvarur Sri Girish and Sri Lalit Subramanian. He presented a full-length concert at his vocal Arangetram in Cleveland, Ohio, in May 2019. In India, Raghav performed in Chennai under the auspices of the Vrinda repertory. Raga Pasibo. I would now like to introduce our guest of honor, Mr. Tom Tweedle. Mr. Tom Tweedle has been Prahalad's Mr. Tom Tweedle has been Prahalad's Western alto saxophone teacher for the past 7 years. Mr. Tom Tweedle received his Bachelor's of Arts in Music Education from Cleveland State University with saxophone as his major instrument, and a Master of Music from Cleveland State in clarinet performance. He held a graduate assistantship while obtaining his master's degree and is a member of Pi Kappa Lambda, an honorary music fraternity. Mr. Tweedle has studied with Theodore Johnson, retired member of the Cleveland Orchestra, Sheldon Hendershot, and Angelo Fortini. He has also studied jazz with Phil Rizzo, director of Stan Kenton Music Clinics. As a performer, Mr. Tweedle has appeared in many settings, including on recordings, television, radio, in recitals, and in various groups, including his own jazz ensemble. For 25 years, he was a member of the Blossom Festival concert band. He has been in band and orchestra director for private schools and the Cleveland Metropolitan School District, an adjudicator for contests, and has taught private music lessons to all ages since 1969. Many of Mr. Tweedle's students have become professional musicians and music educators. Mr. Tom Tweedle. I would now request Mr. Tweedle to say a few words.
First of all, I want to thank you for having me here. I am extremely impressed and honored to be in the presence of some outstanding musicianship here. Thank you. I would like to thank you for the honor and the invitation to speak to this wonderful group. Prahalad has been studying saxophone with me for 7 years. I consider Prahalad one of my most successful students that I have ever taught. Though he may not be choosing a career in music, he certainly could have chosen one had he chosen to do so. He is well prepared. To date, he has completed almost 11 study books, both in classical and jazz studies, and 1 professional level sonata for saxophone, thank you, and piano. An average time to complete a book is generally a year. An average lesson for Prahalad would be to complete 3 to 6 pages a week, and that was for 7 years. I can't remember the last time he missed a lesson or was not prepared for his lesson. I feel that the material is not mastered unless it can be performed without stopping and without mistakes. Although I may and do relax that standard with some students, I did not have to make any accommodations for Prahalad. He brought into the program and ran with it. If you ask him, he'll tell you that he believed in this philosophy, and I'm sure you heard it in his performance today. Along with the voluminous amount of studies he mastered, we held discussions on history, style, and musical nuances. I saw a maturation of his instrumental technique and control, but also growth in understanding, musicality, and independent decision-making. That's when I know that I've gotten through, when I could see that I ask the student to be able to make an evaluation, make a decision about a particular interpretation of the music, and he has been right on after the coaching. There is an African proverb that reads, "It takes a village to raise a child." I am sure that every single person in this room made some contribution to the growth of this fine young man. As I say to my youngest students, give yourself a pat on the back. I have always compared the education of a successful music student to a three-legged stool. If one leg is missing, the stool will not work. The first leg is the student. He has to have the desire, the interest, the ability, and the discipline to do what needs to be done. The second leg is the teacher, who has to know the material thoroughly and have an ability to communicate in such a way that the student can understand and apply the concepts being presented. The third leg is reliable and consistent support from the parents every week. Shalini and Patty have demonstrated this support so well. Their enthusiasm was critical in Prahalad's success. Can we give a round of applause, please? Also, applause is due to Sri Latin, is that? Latin. You have brought out a sound in Prahalad's playing that I have not heard before. Unfortunately, I have to couch that with the fact that since COVID hit, we have not been able to have lessons in person. And also, just a shout out to Mr. Malden and the instrumental music staff of the Solon Public Schools. So it's this total musical and parental village that has made Prahalad the musician that he is today. It has been a real pleasure, a joy and privilege to teach Prahalad these last 7 years. I know that Prahalad will be successful in whatever career he chooses, and I'm sure that he will make music an important part of his life. I wish him happiness and success in all his future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Prahalad's parents would now like to honor Mr. Tweedle with a small token of appreciation. I would now like to introduce our special guest, Srimati Sujata Srinivasan. Although Srimati Sujata Srinivasan needs no introduction to this audience, I am going to go ahead to just highlight a few aspects of a rich career. She is the artistic director, choreographer, and producer for Sri Kala Mandir Center for Indian Performing Arts. She is an internationally renowned Indian classical dancer, choreographer, and teacher of Bharatanatyam in Indian classical music, dance in North America. Very recently, in 2022, she was the winner of the Cleveland Arts Prize Martha Joseph Award. She has nurtured an appreciation for Bharatanatyam in Cleveland with her thematic productions, collaborative initiatives with diverse artists from other art forms, spanning themes from the traditional to the relevant, showcasing her versatility and artistic capabilities. Winner of many awards and titles from her young age, Srimati Sujata Srinivasan has been lauded for her workshops and master titles classes at several universities, and as an arts educator, she brings meaningful connection between art and education in Northeast Ohio schools through the Center for Arts-Inspired Learning. As the founder and artistic director of Sri Kala Mandir, a leading Indian dance company, she has fostered and trained many young dancers of the next generation successfully, establishing the continuity of Bharatanatyam in Cleveland. For her untiring dedication to Bharatanatyam, she has been awarded numerous titles, such as Nritya Seva Mani, Nritya Ratnakara, Narana Ma Mani, and Bharatanatyam Tilakam. Srimati Sujata Srinivasan has been an incredible mentor to our school, and we would be honored if you could come say a few words.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaskaram to all of you. My greetings and namaskarams to Shri Jai Shankar, Shri Vinod Sitaraman, Mr. Tom Twiddle, esteemed Acharyas, Rasikas and friends. It's hard to believe that this is an Arangetram, as it feels like a seasoned performer is performing, accompanied by experts on the field. I appreciate Lalit for inviting me to speak today. Congratulations to Prahalad and Lalit for reaching this important milestone moment. Arangetrams, be it music or dance, happens to be both a final goal and a starting journey for a lifelong pursuit of something that one is passionate about. It all depends on how the student perceives it. Today, we could see the amount of preparation that has gone into it by Lalit and diligently delivered by Prahalad, and it was an amazing concert today. From the first song, Chalamela Varnam, where you could see Prahalad did Chatusratisram and the varying speeds in the Charanam, and the Kalapramanam with which he did the Swaraprastaram in Vatapi Ganapati, and the sprightly Chinnanada was so amazing. And I say it from the point of view of a Rasika, rather than from the point of view of a teacher or a connoisseur of Carnatic music. I owe it to my teachers who have given me this little knowledge to appreciate music and at least follow and know what is happening on the stage. And the challenging Pallavi that he took it on with ease. And several times I saw Shri Vinod and Shri Jayashankar say Sabash, which is very uncommon to receive. Knowing them as teachers, my association with them goes more than 25 years, and they are stalwarts in their field. And Prahalad is indeed blessed to have a teacher who has trained him that way and also to receive that kind of appreciation while performing on stage. Jagado Dharana hit a home run with such a popular song, it captivated the audience, and including Divani Pondhu and the Devarnama that his great grandfather composed. For Prahalad, it is indeed a culmination of so many years of hard work and overcoming challenges to present his skills. Here we must admire him for pursuing Carnatic music on the saxophone, which is quite a rare instrument among young aspiring music students in Carnatic music. And wanting to do an Arangetram is a tall task, and today we see that Prahalad has committed himself to delivering a very smooth, soothing performance that was very settled. There was no ups and downs, or there was nothing that was out of the talam or out of swaram, and it was so soothing to hear. And committing to hours of dedicated practice for a high schooler in this country with all their other academic activities is commendable, and Prahalad will soon realize the beautiful gift that his Guru Lalit has given him and all the support that he has received from his parents, Shalini and Paddy. I'm hoping he continues to pursue this music journey and discover all the treasures that it offers and reach great heights, as I'm pretty sure that he will not encounter much competition as a classical Carnatic saxophone artist, and he will stand out in a crowd. And for Prahalad to be able to play on stage with seasoned musicians who are experts in their field, it itself is an accomplishment, and Prahalad is indeed very lucky to have their guidance for his first stage performance. Coming to Guru Lalit Subramaniam, a pretty versatile, unassuming artist, a generous teacher, and a very humble person. Lalit is always in the pursuit of challenging himself as a teacher, a performing artist, a collaborator, and working hard to achieve it very perfectly. He is a beautiful role model for all the students to follow. He makes challenging tasks seem very easy for his students. Today he saw the amount of complexity that was there in many of the pieces that are not easy to accomplish for an Arangetram student, but yet we saw it happen very easily. His training in several allied arts has equipped him to use his versatility to enable those skills in the students to shine in their endeavors. I've heard Lalit sing as a college student when he first sang for Padmaka for an Arangetram. And from then on, he has endeavored to not only train a large number of students successfully, but also serve the field of classical music and dance in various ways as a composer, collaborator, performer, accompanying artist, etc. This Arangetram is another feather in his cap, and I hope to see many such accomplishments from Lalit. Art makes a student a true ambassador of that culture and tradition they stem from. And I'm hoping that Prahalad will carry forward this torch into the future, shining brightly and successfully and bringing pride to his parents, teacher, and our community here. Good luck, Prahalad, and keep it going. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience.
Prahalad's parents would now like to honor Sujatata with a small token of appreciation. Prahalad will now conclude his performance with the popular Tilana in Ragam Dhanashri, composed by Maharaja Swati Tirunal and tuned by violin maestro Sri Lal Guri Jayaraman, set to Adi Talam. He will follow this up with the Mangalam, a Devranama, Bhagyada Lakshmi Varama, in Ragam Madhyamavati Adi Talam, composed by Sri Purandara Dasa. I would now like to invite our Guru, Sri Lalit Subramanian, to come receive a small token of appreciation from Prahalad's parents and say a few words.
Good evening and namaskaram to everyone. With the blessings of my gurus, Sri Giruvarur Girish, Sri Neveli Santana Gopalan, and all my other gurus, and my Parama Guru, Srimati T. Branda, whose today happens to be her Remembrance Day. She passed on August 6, 1994. So today is her Remembrance Day. So with all of their blessings, it gives me great pleasure to stand before you. And it has been my privilege to present my student Prahalad to all of you today. And I'd like to say that he has done a fine job performing today. I firmly believe, and this is something I've mentioned and reiterated to all my students at some point or the other, that in a discipline of fine arts such as classical music, it isn't as much about the final performance as it is about the journey to that performance. And that journey is a journey of learning, practicing, thinking, and most importantly, investing time. I'm sure many of you have heard of the 10,000 hour rule, and Vinodana and I were talking about this during the rehearsal. And there are some others that talk about the time spent by a child in their mother's womb, which is somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 hours, as being the amount of time investment that one needs to put into any craft that they intend to master. A performance, although a test of that mastery over that craft, in grand scheme of things is only a minuscule of the overall time. And the beauty of fine arts, like classical music or classical dance, is that the journey never ends. You keep putting in more and more hours, and music gives and gives. The more time you spend, the more you get, and there is a lot to get. And the more time you spend, the more you realize how little you know. So now coming to Prahalad, I want to say that Prahalad has definitely spent the time. And yes, he's still very young, and yes, there are many more years to be spent, not only learning the repertoire and practicing, but also thinking about what can be done better, experimenting with how he can sound more authentic. Now let me rewind this to when Prahalad was about 9 or 10 years old when he started. Was he 9 or 10 when he started? 10, I think, right? When he started learning? 2015. So that's when he started learning vocal music with me first. And without belaboring the fact that he's innately talented, it's a very loose term that we use, right? But let me just mention that he's one of the few people in this world that are pitch perfect, which is the ability to identify pitch without a reference. So he would walk into class and listen to the class before his own and say, "Uncle, were you teaching so-and-so in A sharp? I thought you were doing A last time. And how come? What's happening?" Right? So, but this is something is born with, and it's hardly something to take credit for, right? But then what should Prahalad take credit for? About a year or so into his learning, when he was beginning to study Varnams, he once brought his saxophone to class, and then he said he had tried playing the Mohanam Varnam, and he wanted to show me what he had attempted. And he played. And I not only heard the plain notes accurately, but there were also some rudimentary attempts at simulating some gamakams here and there. And a light bulb went off, right? I took out my harmonium to show Prahalad how some of the gamakams moved, and he tried replicating that. And that's how it started. Students of the Carnatic flute will know this, and Raghav will also know this, that although the notes are discrete on the flute, on separate holes, you can control the degree to which you cover the holes, and that can create the slides and glides that are characteristic of our music. But you can't really bend the notes to that degree on a keyed instrument like a saxophone. So then we would experiment. I would take one phrase and ask Prahalad to play it in 2 or 3 different ways and figure out the best way to simulate that gamakam. And like I said, I would play that on the harmonium and he would copy that movement. And we would then play videos of Kadri Gopalnath. For those of you who don't know, Kadri Gopalnath was a pioneer and was the first to play Carnatic music on the alto sax. We would play Kadriji's videos and I would listen, Prahalad would watch. And I'm sure this would have been done differently if Prahalad had studied with a Carnatic saxophone teacher. And in fact, I did mention to Paddy at some point that I would teach Prahalad some basics and work with him on the techniques to execute the gamakams and whatnot. And then we would find a Carnatic saxophone teacher for advanced lessons. But for whatever reason, that never happened, and here we are. So I am proud to say that without compromising on anything music-wise, Prahalad has gained the ability to replicate gamakams and anuswarams that at least I can do with my voice, and which means that he's no longer limited by the nature of certain ragams, in the sense that I don't have to think too much that, oh, let's not do a Bhairavi or let's not do a Todi, because his instrument can't handle it. I'm proud to say that Prahalad is now able to play Gamaka heavy Rakti ragams, and you saw that today in the rendition of Purvi Kalyani that he did. It was a little bit of a nervous moment for me to choose that. Jagan Mohini is different, right? It's more scalar. But we did Purvi Kalyani, which is a quintessentially Rakti ragam, and Prahalad, well done on that. We still have a long way to go on this journey after today's milestone. Next, I'd like to mention our wonderful and experienced artists who graciously agreed to support Prahalad. Both Sri Jaishankar Balan and Sri Vinod Sitaraman are highly accomplished artists, as you know, and we are extremely honored to have you here to support Prahalad. And that's not only today, but during the rehearsals as well. Vinodana, thank you for hosting us in Detroit for 2 days, letting us rehearse in your basement. And thank you to the both of you for being available despite your busy schedules. On the first day, I remember you had just spent 4 or so hours rehearsing for Vinodana student with Madurai Sundar. And then you came back to sit with Prahalad for 3 hours after that, with just a quick break for lunch. And also start the next rehearsal on 6:30 a.m. on the next day. So that was a busy weekend. And it was a test for Prahalad because he had to play in the evening and play in the morning, and then his lips were hurting, and then we figured out, that happens. So I am very humbled, and I'm sure Prahalad is too, by the level of dedication to the art and professional attitude towards the art and your commitments. Thank you so much for the guidance, for Prahalad, the encouraging words, and most of all, providing this lovely musical cushion for him to ride on today. Thank you so much. I also want to thank the wonderful audience. Particularly want to recognize the music and dance gurus present today. First, of course, our guest of honor, Mr. Tom Tweedle. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for providing Prahalad a strong foundation and grooming him with the fundamentals and technique. That makes my job easy. I don't play the instrument, so this was a blessing for me. Also, a big thanks to Srimati Sujata Srinivasan for gracing this event and for the kind words. Sujataka has been a mentor to me right from the time I started teaching in Cleveland about 15 or so years ago. And I'm honored that you were able to come today. Thank you so much. I also want to recognize Srimati Padma Rajagopal, who's here today, who has also been a very strong guiding force for me today. As Sujataka mentioned, the first time I sang in Cleveland was for one of her programs, subsequently a couple of her Arangetrams. So thank you so much for coming here today. And also Shyam Uncle for being here. Also want to recognize Srimati Shobha Narayan, who's also been a guiding force for me teaching here. Thank you so much, Shobhaka and Narayananna, for being here today. Thank you to all the other Cleveland gurus, Shantiji, Shruti, Vishnu. I have not turned around and looked, so I apologize if I'm missing anybody, but thank you so much for being here. Sudha Totapalli, thank you so much for being here. I'm very honored. Thank you to everybody else for attending this. A big thanks to the Madhuralaya family, our students, parents for being there. And thank you all for coming and blessing Prahalad today. Now I'd like to give Prahalad a little memento in recognition of the completion of his Arangetram. So I'll read this out to you. Madhuralaya School of Music, this award is presented to Prahalad Rao in the recognition of the successful completion of his Carnatic Alto Saxophone Arangetram on August 6, 2023 at Cleveland, Ohio, USA, presented by me. I'd like to invite Prahalad's parents, Patty and Shalini, to give the vote of thanks.
Before we give the vote of thanks, we want to present something to our compeer for this evening, Srihan Anand, who has done a phenomenal job. Some of it might be repeated. Some of it might be a repeat of the words that Lalit spoke just now, but regardless, it's coming from us, the parents, so it might have a different flavor to it. 11 years ago, in 2012, we attended an Arangetram performance in the Canton Hindu temple. The performing artist was the daughter of close family friends. Her name is Preeti Kesavan, who had learnt under Srimati Kasturi Shivakumar. The accompanying artists were none other than Sri Vinod Sitaraman and Sri Jaishankar Bal. Prahalad didn't know the ABCs of Carnatic music then, but he was so enthralled by Preeti's performance that he said to us resolutely, "Some years from now, I'm going to have one too." That day happens to be today. But we must take a moment to let you all know Prahalad wasn't naturally inclined to pick up the alto saxophone and begin playing. In his 3rd and 4th grade, he was required to take up an instrument. Prahalad chose chimes. We let it lie. In his 5th grade, he took up the clarinet, which was one of the popular choices for students starting in band, not because he was interested himself, but because his mom had checked that box on the form. Later that year, he auditioned for alto saxophone, and finally he was one of the 4 students selected to play the instrument for his middle school band. At the end of his 5th grade, his school appraised his performance highly and recommended that we get Prahalad private lessons. His Western classic teacher since then is none other than today's guest of honor, Mr. Tom Tweedle. Mr. Tweedle, today's performance would have been impossible without everything you have taught him. From those early days at the Academy Music, when he began with weekly half-hour lessons, to online sessions that have spanned an hour every week, you have been instrumental in nurturing Prahalad's talent with the alto saxophone. Thank you, sir.
Prahalad's Carnatic music teacher needs no introduction, particularly to this audience. But Lalit, what you have achieved today with Prahalad, what can we say to you? Your love and devotion to each of your students says it all. You not only have a passion for the subject, but you are also able to distill the most difficult concepts to your students at a very young age. Lalit and Pavana, the monthly Griha Sangeetam sessions, various gatherings, music competitions, online concerts during the COVID period, as well as the local concerts in our area, and the annual day functions, which incidentally we hope will return this year, have all contributed to encouraging your students to attend and ensure a quality musical education and environment. When Prahalad began Carnatic music lessons in late 2015, like every other child, he began with vocal. Very early on, he had a good Shruti sense, and we assumed that vocal was where his future lay. But in 2017, some interesting events happened. His aunt, Manju, who is in the audience today, told us about a Carnatic music book by Sri Kadri Gopal Nath for alto saxophone, with the notations written in Western style. We bought him the book, but we didn't want him going off on his own. So we let Lalit know, who as soon as he heard Prahalad play, got so enthusiastic that he offered to give him individual lessons. Despite the fact that Lalit himself does not play the instrument, he is a versatile artist who, as you all know, plays several different instruments, and he improvised by playing the tune on the harmonium or the keyboard so that Prahalad could pick up the swaras by listening. We followed this approach for a year and a bit, and thanks to Lalit's training, Prahalad could figure out the swaras by simply listening to Lalit sing. Of course, as Prahalad's knowledge of Western classical music got better thanks to Mr. Tweedle, so too did his Carnatic music performance.
But no one can truly make Prahalad learn or do anything. From the day since he arrived in this world, he has made it clear that he calls the shots. He will learn and do things only his way. Over time, we have learned to simply tell him what we want done, and he can get it done in whatever way he chooses. He can take it very literally. For example, when we make him chapati, sabji, along with his favorite dahi, we tell him it needs to be eaten. How he chooses to eat is up to him. He eats all the chapatis with the dahi, and finally he'll eat the sabji separately. But he eats them. And so it was when Lalit taught him to play the saxophone. Lalit told him that he wanted what he wanted to hear, and Prahalad figured out how to play it. Today's performance should be seen not as the culmination of everything Lalit or Mr. Tweedle have taught Prahalad, but as an important milestone in his musical development. To the accompanying artists Sri Vinod Sitaraman and Sri Jaishankar Balan, who are both very renowned, as you've heard, thank you for giving us your valuable time when we came for rehearsals, where you live, and also for driving all the way from Detroit. When Lalit told us that you would be accompanying Prahalad, we apprised him right away that he would need to up his game another level. We hope he has done so.
Shrihan and Raghav, thank you both for taking time out of your summer break and agreeing to be part of today's Arangetram. Maybe you agreed only because Prahalad is going to be a fellow Buckeye, but that's fine, we'll take it. Both of you are an inspiration to younger students, and I hope you have inspired Prahalad to pay it forward as other students of the Madralaya School of Music get to the Arangetram stage and he's able to help them. To all of those who have volunteered, Shastri and Bala, Ramya and Satish, Badri, and a few others, thank you. Every successful performance needs selfless people like you. To all of our family members, thank you. Also, a big thank you to Shubha and Prasad, who are just like a brother and sister to us. You welcomed us when we first came to the Cleveland area and helped us settle here. And this is where Prahalad has grown into a fine young man. And I would be remiss if I did not thank the Beechwood Middle School auditorium and the custodial staff who have been extremely helpful in making all of these arrangements. Thank you for your assistance. And finally, our heartfelt gratitude to all of you who have come and made today's event a great success. I would now like Prahalad to come and say a few words before we adjourn for dinner.
I'll just leave that as. First, I want to thank Lalit Uncle for all these years of heartfelt appreciation, for teaching me pretty much everything I know in this field of music, and for your, I guess, unique style. You are easygoing, you are understanding, and you're honestly one of the most fun teachers I've ever had in any subject. Next, I want to thank Mr. Tweedle. You've been my mentor in the alto saxophone for 7 years now. And I think my parents have said it best, this would not have been possible without you or your teaching. Next, I want to thank Srihan and Raghav for helping out. They've devoted a lot of time in their summer. They didn't have to do that at all, but I feel like I'm better off for it. Thanks. Next, Vinod Uncle and Jaishankar Uncle, I want to thank you. It's an honor to have musicians of your stature playing for me, and it truly is an honor. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to thank everyone in the audience who came out today to hear me play. It was an honor to play for you. I really enjoyed it, and I couldn't have done it without all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, that concludes today's presentation, and we appreciate all of you for coming and making this event a huge success. Thank you so much. Dinner awaits. Please make your way and to the cafeteria actually. So you'll have to go further and 10 left, and enjoy your dinner. And thank you again for coming.